Good afternoon. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Panel members appearing today are Donald Taylor, Laura Alderson, Sophia Ruddick, and Stan Komerick. I am Michael Clark. I am the panel chair. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances to the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because the Committee of Adjustments and TLAB, in the event of an appeal, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body, TLAB, or in some limited circumstances, to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal, LPAT. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of every decision. The hearing procedure will be as follows. We'll call each item in the order listed in the agenda. We'll deal with deferrals first for the 1 o'clock time slot, and then we will go back to the top and go in order. In making your submissions, where an application is uncontested, the applicant or agent may proceed with a presentation if desired. Where the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and then take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're approaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please start off by clearly stating your name and address for the record, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent proceeds first and makes a presentation to the committee of their application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised, both to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application or with concerns will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they finish their presentation. And when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent is given an opportunity to rebut only those issues and answer those questions that were raised by the neighbors, and not to introduce new evidence. This will then mark the end of the discussion on the application, and the application is then taken into committee for a decision. Panel and staff, does anyone have any declarations of interest to declare on the matters before us at the 1 p.m. agenda? Mr. Komerick?
I'd like to declare a conflict on item 26.
Okay, thank you.
One with the VALECREST.
Okay, thank you. I believe we're required to state the nature of the conflict.
Friends with neighbors of that property.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's noted. Anyone else? None to declare? Okay. In that case, I believe we can start, I believe there's some deferral requests, staff, on the 1 o'clock agenda item. The first one is item number 23, and that's one that had a lot of people pre-registered to speak. So let's perhaps deal with that one first. And I think that's the only one on the 1 p.m. agenda, unless you have something else that's cropped up.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I just have someone that I need to do a sound check for. They just joined. Mark Whitecroft. Mark? Sorry, Mark Whitecroft, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. Which item are you here for?
For the one on 170 Lakeshore, I'm not quite sure why my name showed up there in the list like that. I expect it to be in the attendee list. I'm not sure why I'm on the screen with you.
But you want to speak on this item?
I was here to observe. I don't know if I need to speak depending on what others bring up.
Okay, I'll mark you down then, and the chair will call your name.
That is actually the first item we're going to deal with because there is a deferral request on this application.
Okay.
And I believe that's is that a request by staff? Let's just see. First of all, okay, item number 23, 170 Lakeshore Drive. It's an application to construct a new detached dwelling with a detached garage. There's 7 variances. We have a highlighted revision page. We have 8 people in opposition. We have about 29 in support. We have someone's phone or someone's should be muted. We're getting some interference. Thank you. Transportation has no objection. And we now have staff, can you please advise with respect to this deferral request? Now that I've introduced the application. Is that in the, it's on the control list for deferrals. The staff is requesting a deferral, but I don't see. The applicant is requesting. Do we have that in our on our index here for this matter that I'm not seeing? Okay, let's just hear. So first of all, on this item, we have numerous people registered to speak, including Thomas Goral, the agent for the owner. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people on Lakeshore registered to speak. So Mr. Goral. Do we know where that interference is coming from, Annalisa? Okay.
Hi, Tomaj. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but if you can reconnect because we're having difficulties hearing you. So try signing on again.
Tomaj?
No.
Maybe we should stand this matter down. And I think that's the only deferral request on the 1 o'clock agenda. So let's go back and start at number 18 and we'll come back to this. I just feel bad. There's I guess a number of neighbors online. I don't know if they were aware of the deferral request before I just mentioned it.
Oh, he's here. He's back on.
Okay.
Back on.
Yes, hello. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you,
Is that
Tomas. So, Tomas, I understand I just introduced the application that you're asking for a deferral.
Correct, yes.
Can you advise the reason for the deferral request?
The reason for the deferral is we had talked to planning. Originally, we had asked for 0.96 for floor space index, and we were asked to, the highest one in that area ever approved was 0.87. So planning came back, said, as long as we meet that,
Lisa, can
they
you
are
get
in
the-
support of the application.
Annalisa, can you get the revised notice on the board on the screen? Yeah, we have the highlighted page showing the reduction in the variances from 0.98 to 0.87.
Correct.
Yes, that's the only change. So you want to, and I understand we have 29 letters of support, 8 letters of opposition. It's not a numbers game. It's obviously the issue of impact. So
Yep.
now you want to revise, you've already reduced it. Are you looking to reduce it further? Is that the reason for the deferral?
Well, what happened here was when planning came back, there wasn't enough time to get a formal revised zoning notice. And for that reason, I did the waiver and that was okay. But then I guess all these objections came in, and now we got this new posting on the online where the planners said that they don't support and they will refuse it. They want to refuse it rather than support it, because they want to go into further discussions. And we're not here to upset the members or the neighborhood. So, I mean, we don't know where to come down, but I think it's the right thing to do right now. But
Thank you, Tomas, for advising, because I don't have a note here that that planning was recommending refusal.
sorry, not transportation. No, planners.
planning,
I apologize.
planning.
The planners.
You said planning,
Yeah.
correct? Community planning?
Planners, yeah.
Yes,
At least,
okay,
yeah,
so I can
the planners.
appreciate that. So, okay, and it's it's up to you. You're the one, that's holding the property longer, not getting what you want, so it's at your peril. So, I don't want to really weigh in with all the neighbors on the deferral request. You figure the neighbors are probably going to be happy with that because you're going to make changes. So why don't we just speak to most directly affected, the neighbor at 172 Lakeshore, on behalf of the neighbors. Lilsa Racola is the neighbor right next door. And there's a neighbor on the other side at 168. So let's just hear from those two neighbors on the issue of deferral.
Okay.
So, Annalisa, either Vishal Darji or, you have Ms. Racola? Okay. Hello.
Hello. Yes. Hi, I'm Lisa. So I'm a little bit lost here in the process. Are you asking me to weigh in on the issue of deferral only, or on my objections that I had prepared?
Not on the marriage, just on the matter of deferral. And you'll have an opportunity when they come back, and hopefully it'll be something more acceptable to the neighborhood and to you.
Sure. That's not a problem. As long as timelines of the deferral provide us with sufficient time to kind of recalibrate and make a new submission if we even feel it's necessary.
True, yes. So there will be re-notification, and perhaps since you're the most directly affected neighbors, the agent and or his client should be in touch with you in due course directly to just let you know so you have ample time. Other than what's provided from the time of the notice till the time of the hearing or the cutoff date. So can state that for the record, that they should consult with the immediate neighbors. And I guess on that basis, you're okay with the deferral?
Yes, we'd be fine with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Annalisa, can we now hear from Vishal Darji on the other side?
Hi, this is Vishal Darji. I second, or I agree with my other neighbor on the other side, Lisa, and accept the idea of a deferral.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, committee members?
Thank you.
We have a motion for deferral, please. Mr. Kamark? And seconded by Ms. Ruddick. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. The matter is deferred. Okay, we'll go back to the top of the agenda, item number 18, 2115 Codlin Crescent. This is an application to legalize and maintain the west side storage shed, east side addition to the east garage, and a covered rear porch. A previous Committee of Adjustment application, A184-02E, approved variances relating to an accessory structure in the rear yard for the use of a home occupation, and Committee of Adjustment application A0175-17EYK approved variances related to a west side addition to the industrial building at the rear of the property. So there's one variance being the additions to the existing residential building are not permitted. There's no expansions after bylaw 517-2000 is passed for the dwellings listed in Schedule B under Section 4 of bylaw 517-2000. So that's quite the mouthful. We have a copy of the two zoning bylaws, the previous decisions ordered to comply and site photos, and planning is recommending refusal of the application. Registered to speak on this matter is the agent. It says Nitin Malhotra, but I understand there's going to be another party speaking instead.
No, it's going to be me, Mr. Chair. Nitin Malhotra. There's another gentleman here who's just observing, and he might chip in if required, but I don't think it's required because we are indeed requesting deferral on this application so that we can better understand the staff comments and from where they're coming from. Have some time, to discuss it with the planning staff, also the owners, and see, how best we can address it. So our request right now in front of the committee is a deferral, please.
Okay. Okay, perhaps I'm just wondering, in this instance, this is for something, let me just check. Yeah, this is something that's already built to be legalized, so we can't just, okay, we'll defer it and we'll forget about it for the next 3 years. Perhaps we can hear Mr. Carlino. In this instance, perhaps it should be a specific returnable date, so the matter just doesn't get lost in cyberspace.
Yeah, even
we can provide a date for you. I would suggest the second hearing in August, which is August the 26th.
Okay. Is that all right, Mr. Malhotra?
yes, we would like to. I think we just need maybe another 2 weeks at the most, or 3 weeks. So the next hearing date, and as you suggested, structures have been constructed. We can't just let them, stay there one way or the other. They need to be resolved and legalized. So our intent is we just need some more time, maybe another 2 or 3 weeks to, just see what's best that we can do. So our preference would be to come to the very next Committee of Adjustment meeting.
Mr. Carlino,
I guess
I assume that.
I have a question.
Okay, but we're talking about, just hang on for a second. So Mr. Carlino, I don't know if it's that simple. Next agenda, it's probably full already, correct?
It's full. The next one is in July, the 13th, and the 29th is full. So the best that we can do is August the 12th.
Okay. And I believe Mrs. Alderson has a question.
My question would be, what is going to change between now and then?
Well, that's for us to find out, Ms. Alderson, right? It's just that these comments, first of all, it's COVID-19 situation. We have not been able to consult with our client. And there's obviously all kinds of issues happening, some within our borders and some obviously across the borders, right? And it's only today we were able to have a chat with the planner who actually wrote this report, Ms. Amina Khan. So we just needed some more time so we are better prepared to make our case in front of the committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that case, I can move for deferral.
Okay,
Thank you.
The seconder for that motion. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. The matter is deferred. We'll see you back here in August.
Thanks.
Okay. Next application is item number 1946, Spenceley Court. We have a revision, I believe, yes, a revised notice page showing a elimination of variance 1, reduction of 2 other variances, the floor space index and the length. So there were 5 variances, there are now 4, and we have nothing whatsoever. In the additional materials, we were given a petition of support with 4 signatures, but no other comments from staff, planning, transportation, or forestry. And the speaker on this application, William Hall, Architrave Design. Sir, welcome.
Yes, it's William Hall here from Architrave Design. Good afternoon, I guess, Mr. Chair, committee members. Yes, as you noted in your preamble, we have had a number of conversations with planning from a month or so ago, and they had raised a few points that they wanted addressed. GFA was a prime consideration. They were a little concerned about length and also for coverage. And they asked whether we could consider doing some revisions, shortening the building slightly, reducing the area. And with the clients, we have worked through that for a couple of iterations. And in doing so, we no longer need the variance, as you noted, for coverage. That goes away. The variance for length, we reduced the building length of 12 inches a foot. And effectively what that does is, even though we do need the variance for length, basically, if you include only the second floor portion of the building, we actually comply. So that addition of 0.84 really only applies to a 1-story breakfast bay. The GFA is, we're asking for 0.6 times. And this is primarily driven by the fact that my clients would like a 4-bedroom home, which is very much the norm these days for new builds in Etobicoke in this area. And it's very, very difficult to meet the bylaw requirements and achieve that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Hall, or is someone ready to weigh in with the motion?
I have a question. I'm just wondering how the GFA measures up with number 48 Spenceley Court. I'm looking at 48, which is your adjacent home. Do you happen to know what the GFA is on that?
I don't know what the GFA is. All I do know is that there is no record of a variance for GFA on that property, at least within the last 10 years. We did do the obviously the Committee of Adjustment research portal request, and there are some other properties that are 0.6 or 0.64 within a block or two. So this is not completely out of line. And staff in conversation, supported that or agreed with me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Hall, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Taylor.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied that the 4 requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval without conditions.
Thank you. Seconded for Mr. Taylor's motion. Ms. Alderson, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hall. We'll see you again.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Our next application is item number 20, 185, the Kingsway. And again, if we can get the revision sheet up on the board, we have a revision sheet highlighted to show some changes. This is proceeding on a waiver. We have revised plans and revised site plan. Transportation has no objection subject to certain conditions, and I understand that we have a revised site plan it was done for transportation purposes. So question for the applicant would be, does that reflect the changes, or are these different conditions? in addition to the ones that were made on the site plan. And the speaker on this application, only have one, is the agent, Lucas Cocomello.
Yeah. The conditions transportation noted was to include walkways on either side of the proposed driveway. They're fine with the variance itself. They just requested walkways to be placed on the site plan. So we revised the site plan accordingly for that reason.
Okay, so what I'm saying is the conditions they're asking for, have they already been complied with as per the revisions, or do we need to include them? Just asking you that.
They've already, sorry, yeah, we've already included into the latest site plan that we submitted on June 15th.
Okay. Okay, and other than that, I don't believe we have anything else in this application. You do have an urban forestry condition, requested conditions 1 and 2. And sir, would you like to advise the committee of anything? I don't think we need a fulsome presentation, but.
Well, I've got nothing further to add. We worked with planning. We were aware of forestry's conditions and transportation's conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the agent, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Kamark?
I'll move a motion to approve. I believe it meets the 4 tests as revised. And I'm leaving the transportation conditions in because it's not clear what, we're not tying it to drawings, so
Yeah.
I want to tie it to the conditions.
Okay, better safe than sorry. I just
Yep.
leave it in. Thank you, Mr. Kamark. Seconded for Mr. Kamark's motion. Mr. Taylor?
I'll second with it's a friendly amendment suggested. Urban forestry conditions 1 and 2
Yes.
as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cocomello.
Thank you.
Okay, the next application is item number 21. 27 Prennan Avenue, and it's to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. And there are 5 variances. There are 5 letters of support. Planning is requesting a condition of approval regarding the usable area of the second story balcony. And that is all we have on this application, in addition to urban forestry condition number 3. Again, only one speaker registered. No, yes, the speaker, the agent, and the owner present as well. Peter Milson, the agent. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. This application is to construct a new dwelling that is very much consistent with the types and scale of new dwellings constructed in this neighborhood. I submit that it does meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. It does generally comply with the envelope that is required under the bylaw here. It complies with the setback requirements, slightly in excess of height due to some of the design elements, and a slight exceedance in the dwelling length, but also it's related to the design of the building that has bump outs and cut-ins in different places. The 2 conditions which have been requested by city staff, the planning condition related to the reduction in the size of the second floor balcony to no more than 10 square meters. We are in agreement with that condition, and we are happy to comply with it and reduce the variance request accordingly. And of course, we agree with the forestry conditions as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Milson. So yeah, I guess it's the usable area of the, because I guess it's like a flat roof design, so they just want to make sure it's limited to the 10 square meters, the usable area. You're happy with that wording. Any questions for the agent, or is someone ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion if no one has any other questions.
Okay.
I believe this application meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I would like to approve the variances requested with condition, the condition from community planning, as well as urban forestry number 3.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. A second for that. Ms. Ruddick, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Milson.
Thank you.
Okay, and I guess you're up for the next application also. Item number 22, 3 Dartmouth Crescent. It's an application to construct a detached rear yard garage with an attached studio, a rear yard deck, a covered front porch, and a proposed front yard parking space. A previous Committee of Adjustment application, A81-14EYK, approved the new dwelling variances related to floor space index, setbacks, length, roof, and wall heights and platforms. There are 7 variances. That previous Committee of Adjustment was April 2014. We have a cover letter, site photos, a supplementary material, declaration of use, 5 letters of support, and transportation has no objection subject to 4 conditions. So, Mr. Milson, I see you only speak on this application as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm the pinch hitter for the applicant and the owner this afternoon. You have the applicant's cover letter for you. He's a longtime resident of the property. He did secure variances approximately 7 years ago to construct a 2nd-story addition and other additions. Since then, he's decided that he wants to retain the bungalow. He's done extensive interior renovations to remove walls, create an open plan, increase the size of the bathrooms, et cetera, so that he may age in place. These additional variances requested today relate to the outdoor areas of the property, so that in the future, if he has mobility issues, he would have a generous front porch to utilize, the rear deck to utilize, and he also proposes to reconstruct the existing garage, demolish it, rebuild it in a manner so that it lines up with the other garages in abutting backyards, and to create a studio space attached to that garage, so that he may use it as a home office or for his various hobbies and activities. He wishes to minimize the use of the basement in his house, again, because of those mobility issues and in order to be able to age in place. There are a number of letters of support, and there are no objections or concerns noted from the planning department, which I think is significant given the proposal to construct the structure in the rear yard. Planning has reviewed that. They have no concerns.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Milson. Does anyone have any questions for the agent, or is someone ready to bring a motion?
I think I'm good to move a motion to approve. I believe it meets the 4 tests, and subject to the transportation conditions noted.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Mr. Komorik, seconder for that. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Milson. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Okay, our next application is item number 24, 72 Orally Boulevard.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Community Panel.
Hang on for 1 second, sir. Sir, just hang on. This is an application to construct a front extension to the existing garage, a new covered front porch, a 2nd-story addition above the existing dwelling, and a new rear deck. There are 5 variances, and planning has a condition of approval to be constructed as illustrated in the site plan. So, and that's, I believe, all we have. There's no other conditions or comments from area neighbors. So the speaker on this application, who I just interrupted to do that, is Gianri Regina from Cityscape Design Innovations. Hello?
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and community members. On the application you see in
Do you want
front
to
of
just
you,
state your
it's-
name? Let me just state your name for the
Sure,
record.
it's my apologies, Johnny Regina.
Okay. So pretty straightforward one. Anything you would like to make the committee aware of? And are you okay with the condition of approval?
I am, yes, I do approve of that. Based on the drawings that we submitted, we don't plan to deviate from that at all. Number one. Number two, a lot of the conditions are based on an existing footprint, which basically we're topping up, which is common and happening throughout the city of Toronto. So we're stuck with the perimeter we have and basically building on it. It's that simple. Technical differences and believe we meet all the criteria for the planning act.
Okay, thank you, Gianri. Committee members, any questions for the agent, or is someone ready for a motion?
Happy to make a motion. This is a very straightforward application. I believe it meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval subject to community planning's condition that it be constructed according to site plan dated. Is there a date on that site plan?
I think it's referred
May
to
the
as a
5th.
condition.
May 5th, I think.
Yeah. It
May
says
5th?
Submitted May 5th, held on file as relates to the proposed west
Right.
side yard setback, which includes a partial second story. So exactly the wording they proposed.
Tied to that, yes, tied to that one condition and that date.
Great. Second for that motion? Mr. Komarek, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay. Item number 25 is 116 Lake Crescent. This is an application to legalize and maintain the existing one-story rear addition. There are 6 variances. And in order to comply, we have transportation has no objections subject to 3 conditions of approval. And Councillor Grimes is in support, subject to the transportation condition. And we have a condition of support. The speaker on this application is Jorge de Cuna.
Yes. Oh, God.
Hello?
Hello. Yep.
Is that
I
Jorge?
can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you.
You hear me?
Yep.
Hello?
Hello, sir. We can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, my name is Jorge da Cunha. I represent the homeowner of 116 Lake Crescent. So we want to legalize the addition at the back. And also I have a letter from the transportation refusing to the parking at the front of the property. So the homeowner is willing to make application for street parking.
Yeah, transportation says they have no objection, provided the site plan must be revised to delete the front yard parking pad. The site plan must be revised to delete the soft landscaping shown within the right-of-way that is shared with 114, unless the applicant can demonstrate they have legal authority to remove hard surface from the right-of-way, install soft landscaping, and condition 3, the above shall be undertaken to the satisfaction of transportation services. Are you okay with those 3 conditions?
We are okay with those 3 conditions.
Okay, and the councillor is supporting of that as well, that you get your approval subject to that. Okay, committee members, any questions for Mr. de Cuna? Or is someone ready to?
I have a question.
Yep.
I have a question. The property that you share a driveway with at 114, do they
114.
retain? Yeah, so you share the driveway with 114.
Right.
Do they park on the front? Looks like they park on their front yard. Is that what they do normally?
Well, the 116, I know the parking at the front yard. The 114, I don't know if they have another parking or they park on a street.
Because it's a very narrow driveway to get down to.
Yeah, I think they park on a street.
They
I'm
park
not
on the
sure.
street.
Yeah,
It
I'm
looks
not.
like it looks like a parking pad in the front to me. It looks like one giant parking pad. But anyway, okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, you know, we don't know if that other parking pad complies or it's illegal, so they're asking that it be removed. I see
Yeah,
where you're
yeah.
going. You're saying if the neighbor has one, why shouldn't they? But potentially the neighbor's is illegal and shouldn't be there either. So that's what the count. So
Right.
he's accepting the condition, I guess.
No, I do.
Okay.
And the homeowner do too. She already made the application for the parking on the street.
Okay.
We're just waiting for the committee, and after the committee pass, we're gonna apply for the parking on the street. The application is done.
Okay. Is any other questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
I'll move approval, subject to the 3 conditions of transportation.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Kamork. Any seconder for Mr. Kamork's motion? Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 26 is the next application. We have a revised notice, 102 VALECREST Drive. Perhaps we can get that up on the screen. Actually, it's revised, but it's not highlighted, which is interesting. Provided this is, we can maybe have staff confirm that this is the revised one that we press on. It's to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. First of all, Mr. Kamork has a conflict on this application, so, or am I jumping ahead? Did I just skip an application?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, Chris Marchese's. Okay, so so Mr. Kamork is, we can't see him up there, so he is left. Again, Mr. Marchese, we have 6 variances. We have an order to comply. Sorry, that's the last one. Detached dwelling with an attached garage, 6 variances, revised notice, not highlighted up on the screen. We have a copy of the site-specific zoning bylaw. We have tree photos and a petition of support, and urban forestry requesting conditions 1 and 2. Mr. Marchese, welcome back.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and fellow committee members. Just to clear up the public notice issue, an original set of plans and design was completed, and the variances were on the public notice for that set of plans. Changes were made, and planning committee staff were helpful enough to resend the public notice out based on the revised set of plans and the according variances as such. So I hope that clears that issue up. Chris Marchese, Planner Design Plan Services, 900 the East Mall.
Okay, so this is the revised notice that we have here. That's the one that was circulated. We don't have any issues, and that's the most recent one, even though it's not highlighted. Okay, and we have the tree
Through
photos.
you, Mr. Chair, yes, that is.
Yeah. And you're okay with the urban forestry conditions?
Yes, no, I've reviewed those and deemed them to be acceptable if you were to approve this application here today.
Okay, so anything else you'd like committee members to know before I open up?
The big thing is that just this area is tied to a former site-specific bylaw from 1982. As you see there, section 900.3.1031, and there's been a magnitude of variances given for these site-specific standards that were very restrictive in this bylaw along the street. And this proposal will be in keeping with the redevelopment trends that are seen along VALECREST Drive over the last 10 plus years. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marchese. Any questions from Mr. Marchese, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? Mr. Taylor, I can't. I can't. It's hard to see up there because we have the thing on the screen. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move for approval subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Seconder for that motion. Ms. Reddick, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Okay. So in the old days when we all appear in person, we can say, someone go get Mr. Kamork out in the hall, but I guess we can't do that. Okay, the next item is item number 27, 195 Royal York Road. It's an application to permit a second-story addition above the detached existing dwelling, sorry, not detached. The only variance is the proposed addition is not permitted in a C zone. And we have nothing, we have urban forestry requesting condition number 2, but other than that, we have nothing whatsoever before us. Speaker on this is Rick Bongers. Mr. Bongers.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. One thing I want to add of note is recently the homeowners have asked for a subtle change to the front elevation. Right now we have, coming up to the proposed front porch, a small gable and a set of stairs. They want, and that ties into a larger gable on the second floor. They want to take that small gable and stairs and move it over to the left side so it lines up with the front door, effectively just taking that architectural element and mirroring it. So I do consider that a minor change, but I want to note that.
Yeah, like this is very interesting, and I have a question for staff because we don't actually have any variances before us. It just says that this is not a permitted, proposed addition is not permitted in a C zone, period, the end. So what does that mean? You could do 10, like telling us of a minor change, that's, I assume it's okay. We don't have plans. This is not being attached to plans or anything. It's just a bold or bald condition. This addition is not a permitted use, period, the end. So staff, is what Mr. Bonger is telling us, this small revision relevant? Why don't we have variances here? Are there any variances? Does it matter if there are any variances?
Mr. Chair, the application's being processed under a zoning review. That's the one variance that was noted by building staff. If the committee has a concern with the open-endedness of the application, you can impose a condition of it being tied to the site plan so that the elevations would not be affected, so that you can control the dimensions and where that addition is on the property. But with respect to the requested change that's being made now, it sounds like it's to the elevation and it wouldn't affect the site plan. So if the committee is concerned with not having any kind of restrictions on this variance, you can impose that site plan condition.
Which wouldn't interfere with Mr. Bonger's client's desire to make the small change that he just evaluated, which would only change on the elevation but not the site plan. Is that correct?
Correct. If you wish to add in some additional wording, such as tied to the site plan on file, as it relates to the size and dimensions of the proposed addition, which has been reviewed by the different divisions, then staff would be including that if the committee so chooses.
Okay, we'll see if members want to include that in their, if in the event that they're inclined to approve the application and have that as a condition. So thank you for that, Mr. Carvalino. Mr. Bongers, any comment on Mr. Carvalino's comment?
No, I think they're quite valid. The only thing I would suggest is on the site plan right now, I'm showing the stairs up to the veranda offset to one side. So I'm going to be effectively moving those stairs closer to sort of the middle of the house to line up with the door. So if we tie it to the site plan, maybe add a note about the relocation of the front entry steps up to the veranda.
Yeah. Okay, committee members, any questions or Ms. Alderson?
I have a question. Will this be property, I know it's deemed residential, but will you be using this for a home office of any sort? Is there any commercial use to this property?
No, not at all. It's just additional living space for the family.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
Kind of a technical question. What if we just say substantially in accordance with the site plan? Will that give the latitude to move the staircase?
I I'd like to weigh in. I think they've now changed the wording. We're using constructed as illustrated to avoid that sort of subjective where does substantially in accordance begin and end. But I think didn't we say something about it would be, we wouldn't tie it to the elevation, but just the site plan. But Mr. Bonger has said he's gonna change the pathway location, so perhaps that can be, if you tie it to that with that provision that Mr. Bongers can assist, or Mr. Carvalino, that the actual stairs to the veranda are gonna be moved over to be more in line with the front door, some wording to that effect. Mr. Carvalino?
How about you?
Or Mr. Bongers?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can add in the words save and accept the entry stairs. And we do have this YouTube feed that can provide clarity in the future when the applicant goes in for a building permit. So the idea is to control the size and dimension of the addition and not the location of the stairs, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so that's your motion?
Yes, and subject to forestry condition 2 as well.
Yes. Okay, 6. Okay, seconder for that motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Bongers.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Okay, our next item is item number 28. 2175 KEELE Street. An application that's been before us many times before. This is an application to reduce the number of required parking spaces. Minimum of 558 resident parking spaces are required. Total of 548, being a deficiency of 10, will be provided. There was a neighbor that wrote in that thought it was going down to 448, but I believe he was wrong. Before us on this application, we have planning justification. Transportation has no objection, and we have the objection from one objection who says thought it was 448 spots. The speaker, we have Tony Volpentesta as the agent, and a neighbor from 169 Strathnairn registered to speak as well. Mr. Volpentesta.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. My name is Tony Volpentesta. I'm a partner at a planning consulting firm called Bousfields. I appear before you as the planning consultant to Daniels Humber River Corporation, Daniels, the owner builder of a master planned community located at 2175 KEELE Street. And I appear before you as indicated by the chairman for a singular variance dealing with parking. The subject lands that are subject to a site-specific zoning bylaw adopted in 2017 to facilitate the development of a master plan community. As indicated, I have filed a detailed planning rationale and justification for the requested variance. The approval that's already been in place as reflected in the site-specific bylaw is effectively for the redevelopment of the lands with the development of 16 buildings with heights ranging from 3 to 8 stories. And at the time, the approval was for a total of 650 residential dwelling units. The development is planned in 3 phases, straddling a new east-west public road known as Cannon Jackson Drive, which is aligned with Greenbrook Drive on the west side of KEELE Street. The first phase of development includes 244 residential units in 8 buildings with a shared underground garage containing 219 residential parking spaces and 49 visitor spaces. Phases 2 and 3 of the development include 393 residential units in 8 buildings with a shared underground garage containing 329 residential spaces and 78 visitor spaces. Resident and visitor parking for phase 1 is located in the underground garage with vehicular access. I'm hopeful that we can get a copy of the plan, a landscape plan that I filed, maybe not. Maybe I can cut to the chase here.
Yeah, you only have, you're deficient 10 parking spots out of 5.
It's a 10-space deficiency, fully supported by the transportation department. My big headline story is this. Daniels is effectively looking at this community as a Daniel first home community. The parking for small size, for bachelor and smaller size 1-bedroom units, they're not being offered parking spaces. Those units themselves represent 25% of the total. So 25% of the total number of units are not being offered parking spaces. The parking reduction amounts to a 1.5% space reduction. These units, the Daniel's First Home project is all about making units intrinsically affordable. Intrinsically affordable in some cases would include things such as parking. The subject lands are roughly 685 meters from the new Keelsdale station, and Keele is readily accessible, has good transit. And again, another headline story would be the comment from Luigi Nicolucci fully supporting the variance. Those are my submissions. I try to keep it to the point. I know that we have an objector. You're right, Mr. Chairman. There's a misstatement in terms of the number of parking spaces that we're asking for a reduction. In addition, she resides on a street that's roughly 150 meters away. The reduction that we're seeking is not visitor reduction. It's actually resident reduction in terms of overall parking spaces. So with that, those are my submissions. Be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Sure. You know, take notice that many condominium downtown buildings are coming to reduce the parking deficient requirement per square foot or per suite count. And they're very expensive to build parking. People don't want them, especially when they have to pay $50,000 to $100,000 for it. So, and then pay a monthly management fee on it as well. So here's a 10-spot reduction out of this, what, 2%? Something like that.
1.5%.
1.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's hear from the neighbor who's on the line. Linda Galliford at 169 Strathnairn Avenue. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, the residents in this complex were not all provided with enough parking at 558 spaces, as we've just heard. Now, how could parking spaces of 548, 10 less than the original 558 spaces, not affect the general intent and purpose of the official plan? Be maintained. It certainly would affect the neighborhood. The residents of this complex would be forced to park on neighboring streets. Certainly not desirable. This, to me, is not a minor variance. What would Daniel Corporation intend to do with this space of 10 parking areas if the Committee of Adjustments agrees that this request would not have a major impact on the existing neighborhood? Thank you.
Thank you. Committee members, any questions for the speaker? Ms. Alderson?
I don't have a question, but I'm ready to make a motion if no one else has any questions.
Okay, yeah, I guess we don't need a rebuttal from Mr. Volpentesta to that, because he prefaced it previously.
I'll actually provide the rebuttal for him. It's approximately a 10-minute walk to the Keelsdale subway station from this development. I would think that would be a great walk for somebody. So based on that, I'm willing to approve this variance, subject to, there wasn't any conditions, no conditions.
No conditions imposed.
Yeah, it's a 10-minute walk to the Keelsdale subway station, so I'm happy with that. So I'm approving the variance.
Thank you. Seconder for that motion? Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Okay, thank you.
I thank you, and that would have been my rebuttal. Thank you very much.
Okay, you can share your.
I saved you the trouble.
Okay. Item number 29 is 134 Hillside Avenue, and it is an application for a new detached dwelling with an integral garage. There are 3 variances. We have a cover letter, a justification report, a planning report for information only, 4 letters of support, 1 letter of opposition from 142 Hillside. Urban Forestry is recommending denial. Although I see in Councillor Grimes is in favor. He says planning and urban forestry have no concerns, but I'll just raise whether urban forestry does in fact have a concern. And that's all we have on this application. We have one speaker, Mr. Marchese. Chris Marchese, welcome again. Welcome back.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow committee members. Chris Marchese, planner at Design Plan Services, 900 the East Mall, Suite 300.
Okay.
Just quickly, I'm aware of the staff report or the forestry report recommending refusal, and I just want to be on record telling the committee that I'm of the opinion that first and foremost, where the tree should be able to be protected. It's not in the direct line of any construction. It's beside the driveway, and even with the approval here today, any regulated tree would have to be obtaining a permit, whether it's private or public, before any construction were to start on the property, even if the committee were to approve the application today.
Correct. Okay, and there are no other, planning's report was for information. They're not asking for any conditions of approval. They're just, I guess, going through and indicating, basically it's they're in support. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Marchese, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
Just, Mr. Chair, just an observation. Urban Forestry did, in a memo dated June 9th, provide an option to us to approve with condition 1 regarding a city-owned tree.
Right, as this sort of standard, they say, if you don't deny it, then it's got to go before
Yeah.
council and all that standard wording.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So unless there are any other questions, I would move approval. I find the variances meet the 4 tests, and my motion would be to approve subject to urban forestry condition 1.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Second for Mr. Taylor's motion. Ms. Alderson, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Marchese. Okay, the last item of the 1 p.m. agenda is item number 30, 107 Flamborough Drive.
Yes.
These are for various additions. Frank Montano is the agent. We have, again, a revision page. Can we get that up on the board? We have a revised notice page on this. We have 3 variances. There were 4 variances, and as well the coverage has been reduced. So we have revised notice, revised plans, and planning is advising us that following the revisions by the applicant, they have no further concerns. Speaker is Frank Montano, agent for the applicant.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. Yes, as you just stated, we were in discussions with planning. We've altered the plans to reduce our coverage, which is there highlighted for you. We've dropped a couple of variances such as the building length, which hopefully satisfies the one neighbor that we had some discussions with, and I think he's okay with this. That's just about it. I think everything else is more or less in keeping with what the owner intended to do and what we've tried to do with this property to satisfy both the neighbors and the homeowner.
Okay, what about right? What about urban forestry? I see they're recommending denial. But just like
they're recommending the denial based on the first submission of 37% coverage, which we've reduced.
I see. Okay. Okay, committee members, any questions for Mr. Montano?
Just wanted to further clarify on that. So the garage is being removed. Is it being switched from one side to the other?
Well, the garage is a detached garage in the rear yard right now. You can faintly see it on the site plan. It says existing garage to be removed.
Okay, because does that pertain to urban forestry's concerns at all?
No, it's that tree on the boulevard that they want us to maintain, which isn't a problem because we avoid it. We're like 5 feet away with the driveway, with our new proposed driveway.
Okay. Okay.
And what we try to do, we flipped it. We actually have an attached garage now. We flipped it to the west side because we're trying to maintain the existing wall of the existing home that's there now on the west side.
Okay, I knew something was being flipped, and I couldn't quite remember from my notes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions for Mr. Montano, or is someone ready for a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, may I just ask, would you be okay if we were to impose urban forestry condition 1, notwithstanding the fact that you say they no longer have a concern. If that's true, they can just waive the condition. But we don't have anything on record to say that they're okay with your new design. So would you be okay if we approve this subject to urban forestry condition 1?
Well, their condition is, number one, is the submission of a complete application for a permit to injure or remove. That was just the comment that they made, that they didn't want to support the application because it came in at 37.21%. They never commented on the revised submission.
Yes, I know.
Anyway, Mr. Taylor, I think you're very reasonable with your suggestion. You don't need the applicant's permission. Given the fact that we haven't heard from whether they're still content and their way may be an issue, I understand you're trying to be very, but let's not have a whole debate over, if you think it's an appropriate condition, impose it.
End of debate. I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. End of debate. I move approval. I find the variances to be in keeping with the 4 tests. And my motion for approval would be subject to urban forestry condition 1.
Thank you. Seconded for thank you, Ms. Reddick. I see your hand up to second the motion. All in favor? We have unanimous approval. Thank you. And we're all entitled to a well-deserved break until 3 p.m. when we resume the 3 p.m. agenda. Okay, we'll see you in 3 o'clock.